For those of you who aren't familiar, I'm a civil rights slash people's rights slash anti-corruption foreclosure defender here in South Florida. I've been an attorney for 11 years, and this video is intended to preserve for posterity truly the best speech, or one of the best speeches that I ever gave. This is in my pre-Foreclosure Destroyer incarnation, and I was giving my closing argument in my first ever federal race discrimination and retaliation lawsuit. I represented the plaintiff, a man by the name of Mr. Brown, in a suit against the Broward County School Board. What I'm going to do for you now is read the closing argument that I gave off the top of my head to conclude that trial. And basically, right before I got up to speak, the opposing counsel had said that my client's case, which happened to be named Brown versus Board of Education, and I didn't hesitate to use that coincidence or that correlation to my advantage. My opponent, right before I got up to give this speech, said that to call this case in any way similar to Brown versus Board of Education was to trivialize Brown versus Board of Education, and he said that my client should have followed the procedure, which is like complaining to the boss about the boss, which is what got him in all of this crap to begin with. Finally, my opponent said that the jury should be responsible. So here's what I did with that. I was inspired, to say the least. Trivial! That's what Mr. Burke thinks of Mr. Brown's case and his reassignment to the portable crew. That's what they thought of his complaints, and they got sick of them. He tells you Mr. Brown could have used the procedure if he wasn't happy with his assignment to the portable crew. That would be the same procedure that caused Mr. Mowry to point his finger in my client's face and say, "I'm going to get you," complaining to Mr. Mowry. The same procedure that ended him up first in an 11-month investigation and then at an assignment by himself to work on ceiling tiles at Boyd Anderson, a job that didn't even need to be done. The same procedure that led him to be assigned to the portable crew as a man with 24 years experience who used to drive around in a truck, have an apprentice, be able to take pride in his accomplishments in his job. This job that has taken up 24 years of his life, and in which his self-esteem, pride, and ability to face the day are inextricably intertwined? Trivial, right? Trivial are Dr. Maureen Miller's words describing the damages done to Mr. Brown's lungs, July 26, 2007, since patient has been changed to renovation section at work. Right? It's trivial. Mr. Brown had a problem. He could have followed the procedure. The same procedure that is administered by the Equal Employment Opportunity Division, the EEO. Remember them? Where have they been all this time when this employee with 24 years of good and excellent evaluations was complaining? Where have they been when Mr. Brown, where was this EEO when Mr. Brown's accommodation was suddenly removed from him and he was forced to go to work every single day, wondering whether that day would be his last? Imagine, when asked about his emotional, and you know his emotional damages, the jury instructions are going to tell you we don't have to put on evidence of their value because there is no evidence which can establish that value. But I suggest you look at it on a day-to-day basis. Here we are in May, June of 2007. Mr. Brown, since handing Mr. Mowry that last letter about that last complaint, has seen attack after attack brought against him, against his livelihood, against his lungs, against his soul, and every single day he has to go to work under these conditions. No truck, none of those accoutrements that gave him pride in his accomplishments. Instead, wondering what's coming next. You heard from a gentleman. Mr. Brown at times couldn't get in the school. You heard from a lady who said that there were unusual things going on with Mr. Brown's time cards. Mr. Brown is wondering what's coming next. Am I going to be able to A, physically get through this day inhaling these toxic chemicals? Am I going to B, mentally and emotionally be able to get through this day knowing that all the things that I took pride in have been taken away from me and the worst may still be to come? Mr. Brown provided the information again on May 15th, 2007, and yet things didn't get better, they only got worse. I suggest to you that living that experience day to day as Mr. Brown probably was pretty dang tough. And so I hope that you will, yes, be responsible, but take that responsibility and show the Broward County School Board and the Equal Employment Opportunity Division that Mr. Brown's complaints really were not all that trivial. Thank you. The jury returned 42 minutes later with the $210,000 verdict for the plaintiff. God bless you all, and remember, to rebuild America, we must tear down Wall Street. Peace out.